Classroom buzzed that morning with chatter, backpacks thudding, and pencils tapping. 12-year-old Daniel Carter sat by the window, his books stacked neatly, his pencil sharp, his uniform crisp. He was disciplined for his age, the kind of boy who carried himself like someone twice his years. But behind those calm eyes, there was a boy who had already learned too much about how unfair the world could be. At home, his mother, Ruth Carter, always reminded him before school, "Baby, the world may not clap for you, but don't you bow for them. Stand tall." His father, Marcus Carter, a man who had faced rejection too often in his own youth, would add, "Son, dignity is armor. Don't ever put it down." Those words were stitched into Daniel's soul. That morning, Mrs. Collins, their teacher, adjusted her glasses and began reading the new seating chart. Students groaned, shuffled, and whispered. Then her finger landed on the empty desk beside Daniel. "Claire, you'll sit there," she announced. Every eye turned. Claire Simmons, a white girl with tidy braids, froze in place. She looked at the desk, then at Daniel. Her lips trembled before she shook her head. I I can't sit there," she whispered. Her words weren't loud, but they struck like thunder. Gasps rippled across the room. Some students looked horrified, others smirked. A few exchanged guilty glances. Daniel's chest tightened, not because this was new, but because it was familiar. Viewers, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. This story is just getting started. The silence after Claire's words was heavier than any textbook. A boy in the back chuckled cruelly, muttering, "Why should she? It's weird." Another leaned back smugly, treating Daniel's humiliation like a comedy show. A few kids turned away, uncomfortable but unwilling to speak. The air felt split, one half echoing prejudice, the other half too afraid to stand against it. Daniel sat frozen, but not broken. His grip tightened around his pencil, pressing so hard the tip nearly snapped. Inside, the sting cut deep, reopening every wound he had carried since childhood. The neighbors who crossed the street when he walked by, the whispers in grocery aisles, the times kids at the playground called him different and laughed. Mrs. Collins, standing at the front, hesitated. Her authority cracked under the weight of prejudice. In her silence, Daniel read a truth worse than Claire's rejection. Adults often chose comfort over courage. "She's worried about parents," he thought bitterly, "not about me." But Ruth's words rose in his memory like a shield. "Stand tall, baby. Always stand tall." And Marcus's voice echoed just as clearly. "Dignity is armor. Don't put it down." Daniel lifted his chin. He didn't glare. He didn't argue. His silence was deliberate. It was his answer. And that silence made some classmates squirm more than shouting ever could. Around him, the class fractured, divided between those who laughed, those who hid, and a few whose guilty eyes whispered, "This isn't right." Viewers, if you feel Daniel's strength, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. The story is only building. Lunch that day felt different. The cafeteria was loud with trays clattering and laughter bouncing off the walls, but Daniel's table carried a quiet weight. He sat with his small circle, the ones who truly knew him. Jamal, his best friend since kindergarten, leaned in close, his voice low but sharp. "Don't let her crawl inside your head, bro. They're scared of you because you shine too bright." Across the table, Sarah Miller, one of the few girls brave enough to speak up for him, frowned. "Claire may have said it, but the rest of them? They thought it. You're stronger than all of them combined, and deep down, they know it." Daniel forced a smile, grateful, but still heavy. Their words stitched cracks in his spirit, but the hurt lingered like a shadow. That night at dinner, his silence spoke louder than words. Ruth set down her fork, eyes narrowing in that motherly way that saw everything. "It happened again, didn't it?" Daniel nodded slowly. Marcus, across the table, set down his knife, his gaze steady, unwavering. "Son," he said, his voice deep and measured, "people will always try to chain you with their prejudice, but you're meant to break chains, not wear them." Ruth reached over, cupping Daniel's hand, "And when it hurts, remember, you're not alone. You carry us with you, always." Daniel swallowed hard. Their faith became fuel. He would not bow. Not today. Not ever. Viewers, if you're feeling this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Daniel's journey is far from over. The whispers didn't stop overnight. Back at school, Daniel still felt the weight of stares, the mutters behind his back, the silent judgment from teachers who doubted him before he even raised his hand. But something inside him had shifted. His parents' words, Jamal's loyalty, Sarah's encouragement, They weren't just comfort, they were fuel. Every insult became another reason to sharpen his mind. Every smirk pushed him to study harder. When classmates mocked, Daniel answered with grades that silenced laughter. When a teacher doubted, his hand shot up with answers so precise they left the room stunned. He was building something greater than defense. He was building armor made of excellence, and made of excellence. Claire, the girl who refused to sit beside him, couldn't erase the image of Daniel sitting tall in silence that day. She may never admit it, but the memory haunted her more than her own words. She had expected him to break, to react, to crumble. Instead, he carried himself with dignity, so unshakable it exposed her weakness. And the class? They remembered too. Some with shame, some with quiet admiration, some with the slow realization that prejudice doesn't just wound others, it corrodes the one who carries it. Because Daniel's greatest power wasn't anger, it wasn't revenge, it was dignity. And dignity is louder than any insult, heavier than any chain, and brighter than any shadow. Respect costs nothing, but prejudice, it will always bankrupt the soul. Viewers, if Daniel's strength inspired you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, because stories like his remind us the fight for dignity belongs to us all.